Being in isolation and distracted is what these groups, individuals want. They don't want you to be able to create or to have clear focus. They want you distracted and they want you feeling run down so they have time to plot and plan and come up with all type of gimmicks and underhanded tactics to derail you from your forward movement. Yesterday I rode the train and I noticed a year after being in isolation, right? Back in isolation over a year, from a year ago, I was in isolation and I rode the train. That was the last time. And they had all of their flying monkeys in this cult, right? This criminal network, their recruits get on the train. I'm talking about, hundreds of people, getting on the train, the train stops, being flooded with these flying monkeys, people getting on the train on and off different stops. But I noticed last year, right? There's a difference between this year and last year. Last year, a lot of them rode the train for much longer. Um, some of them stayed on there all day, or many different locations. And then, like I said, they would have people get on and off. Yesterday, I noticed people ride the train for much shorter distances, much shorter length. Same gimmicks, same tactics. They get on the train, they point the phone, they experiment with the sleepy frequencies. You guys don't understand how significant when I say sleepy frequencies, even though it sounds crazy, it sounds corny. But the significance of the sleepy frequencies of them um, um, experimenting with the sleepy frequencies, that's the base of graduating into other frequencies. You're not gonna notice unless you truly is a are a targeted individual or somebody who has a strong spiritual team that has been stalked and targeted by this group that has been trying to alter and manipulate their energetic field or violate their energetic boundaries using frequencies. So whenever they lose access or the ability to violate your chakras or to get past your energetic boundaries, they always go back to the basis, which is sleepy frequencies. Now, if they can get you to doze off, or if the sleepy frequencies, you know, manipulate, your frequency, your vibration, um, enough to get you to doze off, then they feel like, oh, okay, we got something to work with. Now we can kind of gradually graduate into the other frequencies to see if we can get past their energetic boundaries. This is what this group does. You have a whole group, this group, of energy harvesters. Their whole, you know, intentions is to use your energy. Those of you who have special potent energy, they scout you, they stalk you wherever you go. The same clowns and idiots that behind your back say you don't fit in, you're a square, you don't belong with us, you're not one of us, you don't belong with this group or whatever, this network. But these are the same clowns saying you don't fit in with us, but they're constantly stalking you, following you, going wherever you go, trying to violate your energetic boundaries. Obsessed, literally obsessed with who you are, what you are, and the energy you carry. Obsessed to the point they can't go away and live their own life. They have to have their flying monkeys, minions, and recruits follow you everywhere, all day, every day, trying to win in their mind, win. Violating your energy is winning. Using your energy to fund their spells and create abundance and have good luck, that's winning to them, right? This whole thing started because you have a clown and a bisexual, a corrupt cop hiding their identity, and several other exes, um, you know, wanting to erase the ex of an ex. Let me make that make sense. So there's a bisexual corrupt cop that got with an ex that most likely bribed or paid or manipulated, their energy field or put them under some type of binding love spell. Felt like, okay, this person still loves their ex, right? The ex was too immature to express their true feelings and emotions to me, And to make it clear how they felt, they got caught up in this competition, won a leg up, holding a grudge, whatever the case is, just immature all the way around. And instead of expressing that, went on this journey and tried to make things seem like they was winning in life, and they made the better choice by getting with a narcissistic clown, a bisexual clown, a bisexual devil. We not focusing so much on a person's sexual preference, right? But being that I know that this devil is hiding their identity, I'm gonna put it out there as much as I can, right? Because it ties in to the fact that the LGBTQ community has been recruited and has prominently inserted themselves a part of this criminal network, right? That's just one group. And then you have a whole secret group of downloads. Now, before you jump to conclusion, I'm telling you what I know to be facts, y'all. I observed all of this stuff over the past several years. You got one group, which is a whole secret group of downloads, and they usually walk around with the gray beard and all of that. The grayish, the salt and pepper beard and shit, bald head, you know, like a whole clique. They was all, kind of looking like each other and shit. Then that's the secret group of downloads. Then you had the straight LGBTQ community that's not shy about who they are, not trying to hide their identity. Cool. We respect that, right? But then you have people like the bisexual cop that is hiding their true identity and how they get down and who they're connected to and what they do behind the scenes, right? And this individual, obsessed individual, have been trying to win at all costs, but that individual is not the only one, y'all. You have other people. It's a whole group who loves creating demise in other people's life because of their hate and jealousy and envy and wanting to see people fall. A whole group of them got together, trauma bonded, banded together to laugh and think it's an adventure to try to see me and other innocent souls like myself fall, right? Or get knocked down and not be able to get back up, or having to start over again. And that's funny to them, these dummies, right? And so you have exes after a while realizing what they got caught up in, what they signed up into, feeling regretful but too afraid to speak up and tell the truth and admit the truth because they don't want to go to jail, or they don't want to fall on their sword. They don't want to take accountability for everything they participated in. But yet, in their mind, they think after decades of not seeing each other and not being together, that's some fantasy in their mind as they're beginning to wake up that there's hope for us getting back together. They think in their mind that there's still a chance, right? So they're holding on energetically because this whole thing began several years ago, more than several years ago, with them dabbling into low vibrational practices and figuring out that they could use the energy of their ex or tap into their ex's energy because of the connection they had, the respect that they had at one time, not realizing that this devil would betray that trust, betray that honor, betray that love, betray that respect, become a clown and a coward, and join these groups, these criminal networks, right? These demonic cults and covens, and dabble into these low vibrational practices, and you know signing their soul away and getting caught up with these entities that they have to you know make good on the sacrifices that they said they could make, and these entities is collecting. So instead of the ex who knew that y'all broke up on good terms just apologizing or saying, you know what, this is going on far enough, long enough, I'm gonna go sit down, get myself together. I know I messed up. I know I shouldn't have created all of this havoc and chaos, all of this, unnecessary, unjustifiable, you know, um, evil and wicked deeds towards my ex who did nothing to me but respect me and love me. I'm gonna go ahead and hold accountability, and I'm gonna go sit down, you know, and at least that'll get me out of this fucked up relationship with this bisexual clown, this hating ass devil. and at least I'll be able to go sit down and you know they'll be able to get themselves together, get whatever meds they need, you know, go within, be able to finally remove that weight off of their shoulder, that pressure of trying to run and hide and keep continuously lying. You know what I'm saying? And then you have their family members that empower them to do this shit because they wanted to get paid and they wanted to be taken care of financially. And they believed in a lie and empowered this person. And then you have a whole community who got the audacity. And these is religious people, y'all. These is people that run these shelters, run these community services, run these churches, religious groups and organizations. These people who hide behind these charities, put the t-shirt on and pretend that they're in the upright. I remember seeing a whole group that was stalking me in Gwinnett County pop up in Fulton County. Same car, same license plates, couple summers ago. And they was wearing all these t-shirts. And I knew who they was. I recognized them right away. So I said, oh, what's this charity? And then the lady started explaining, oh, we've been around for 13 years and this is what we do in the community. And I'm looking at her and the group, the people that's with her passing out the food and the sandwiches. And I'm saying, no, that charity been around for 13 years, 15 years. You mofos, just came from stalking out of Gwinnett County into Fulton County. Y'all slapped on the t-shirts. So the organization is reputable, but the criminal network and fake friendship group that weaseled their way into this charity is a whole nother, aspect or, of criminal network that's hiding behind these reputable charities. And I watched them do this, y'all. I watched them go from church to church, location to location, wherever I was utilizing services, taking the showers, getting the food, the soup line, whatever. These devils will pop up and become members at these places or volunteer at these places. I watched them do that over and over and over and over and over. Weasel their way into the community, services or community centers, right? And you can't make none of this stuff up because these devils have been trying to win at all costs. They took it upon themselves to create this whole adventure, trying to sacrifice an innocent soul. They have the audacity to be upset with a person in the divine saying, no, it's not this person's time. It's not this person's fate for you to steal their blessings, block their gifts and rewards. It's not their fate for you to steal their inheritance, spiritual or monetary, right? Where do you all have the audacity to be upset with somebody who did nothing to you? Did nothing to y'all, don't even know y'all. And y'all devils is upset every time you see this person. See, in a normal capacity of utilizing services that's for the people, that's for the public, it's supposed to be a smooth transition. You need services, you need the help to pull yourself up. You sign up for these shelters, you go to these places that provide, soup, sandwich, or showers, whatever. And it's not supposed to be this difficult, you know, um, abuse of power, right? But because these devils weasel their way as a network, as a friendship group into these different locations, they make it difficult, right, on the person that they're trying to target or the person that they are targeting, right? They want you to feel like you have to beg or you owe them something for something that's supposed to be lined up for the people in the first place. It's nothing to beg for. People come through to pick themselves up, to get themselves situated, to move on, to create a new beginning, and that's it. But you got these devils that feel empowered and feel, this self-importance, like, if I give you this sandwich, I helped you. If I let you in here, we run this and this. You know what I'm saying? It's like a weird, narcissistic way of thinking from these clowns and devils. You know, but when you have um, groups like the LGBTQ who used to feel threatened and afraid for their safety and well-being, Not long ago. It wasn't that long ago where, they would be all over the news and in general saying we don't feel safe, we don't feel accepted, we don't feel protected, we don't feel like we have enough human rights, right? We feel like, people attack us for our gender or our sexual preferences. How you go from that not feeling safe and feeling like you're the underdog and being mistreated and mishandled to all of a sudden participating in a criminal network where many in that community as well, androgynous, is practicing low vibrational practices as well, right? Because I remember they had one in the same dorm that used to sleep across from me that was into that and constantly waiting for me to fall asleep, getting up at night, working a night shift and going to pick stuff, you know, doing all type of different stuff. But yeah, um, so they went from not feeling safe, protected, and respected to all of a sudden participating in these sinister criminal networks and organization. And and of course, not all of them, right? And this is not based solely on their sexual preferences, but it is a group that we must acknowledge that have signed on because of this corrupt bisexual cop. And this corrupt bisexual cop is tied into other multi-millionaire individuals who are bisexual, hiding their true sexual identity, right? In the entertainment industry, etc. And also funding and assisting at some point this whole ordeal of the stalking and harassment and what has been transpiring going on in plain sight. You'll be surprised, you'll be amazed, but the truth is going to be revealed. You know what I'm saying? Um, my ex went the wrong way, but instead of her speaking up and saying, "Yo, I made a mistake," she want to hide. She want to hide and stay quiet about the injustices. And also, I'm pretty sure she's on time. She's for a long time been, trapped and stuck, you know, under some binding spell, right? Being in a mental fog, a mental prison. But still, it was based on the choices she made. And she's not the only ex because I can't make it up. It's multiple exes and family members involved. I got another ex who presented themselves as a good, upstanding Christian, honorable person, and come to find out they witches into low vibrational practices, and they also, got caught up into fraud and theft, and bad mouthing me to friends and family behind my back, and I saw the warning signs in that relationship before we broke up, and I ignored it. I didn't ignore it, but I did because I'm like, damn. I seen this person send emails and messages, and they didn't know I saw the message of them sending a message to my friend, a childhood friend that I grew up with, that I had lost contact with and came back into contact, and then introduced them. And then next thing I know, she's sending messages talking about me to this friend, saying untrue things, by the way, right? And then, um, I when we broke up and this person, walked away and threw the ring on the table, I felt a great sense of relief at that point. It was disrespectful, but I didn't care. I'm like, yo, finally, you know what I'm saying? Like that relationship was kind of a mistake, but I picked it. You know what I'm saying? I was in that frame of mind at that time, and you know, um, I got into that relationship for the wrong reasons. So I take accountability for my part at that time. It's many years ago. But um, when it was finally over, you know, in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, we making this clean break. They decided to throw the ring on the table and tell me it was over, and they got the last word. I let them get the last word and, make sure, because for a long time I felt guilty of breaking up. I'm like, damn, I don't want to break up and leave the person high and dry. But I saw how they was using me as a stepping stone, as a come up. This is different ex. This is a different ex. How they was using me as a stepping stone in a relationship. And I felt like, damn, if I break up and leave, you know how you want to break up and they telling you they love you and they want to work on it and all of this stuff, but you don't really belong with this person, and they dragging you down more and more and more and more. You know what I'm saying? And everything that you wanted from the relationship you already got, and there was nothing else to achieve or aspire to. That all of that kind of stuff. But trust me, I had to take accountability for all the choices I made, and with the people I chose to get involved with, the choices I made, being in the relationships and the things that I succumbed to. And you know um that's part of my healing journey, right? But I felt guilty leaving that relationship, so I stayed longer than I should have. I stayed way longer. I should have been left that relationship, but I stayed longer and longer, and it just dragged me down more. You know what I'm saying? And then by the time you drag down that person, all of a sudden start playing the victim and start you gaining strength off of your energy, right? Using you as a stepping stone. Then they bad mouthing you behind your back, making you seem like the bad guy when you stayed to try to help them get strong enough to be able to move on. And then by the time they finally get the strength to move on, throwing your ring across the table, telling you good riddance and all of this other stuff. And then you realize they've been behind the scenes for all of these decades and years, literally. Can't make it up. They've been behind the scenes all of these years, stalking and watching and keeping a close eye on what you got going on, still interfering, still, um, causing hardships and spreading lies and deceit. And you thinking to yourself, well, being that y'all broke up, there's no way that this person is behind the scenes worrying about what I got going on, trying to interfere with what I got going on. Nah. So when you're dealing with family and multiple exes, not one, multiple exes behind the scenes, bugging out, tripping over your energy, trying to use you for your energy, not respecting the vessel, but wanting the energy, y'all. But the exes is a little bit different. The exes, if they had the opportunity to be in a relationship, they would. If they had the opportunity to get back in a physical relationship, they would. I'm not interested in nobody that I've been with in the past, right? Not because, of no hatred or nothing like that. I'm just not interested in going backwards. Everybody made their choice. Everybody said how they felt. Everybody made the moves they made the choices they made. It's been decades, y'all. Who in the heck want to get together after decades of you bouncing from club to club, of you doing all of this? You didn't want to acknowledge and respect and see my value, and you didn't want to see my worth. You wanted to give the vagina away to everybody else. You wanted to participate in all type of stuff, but then you want to pop back up after the thrill is gone and be like, I'm ready now. It does not work that way, yo. Move on. Be happy with the choice you made, or at least accept the choice you made. But don't try to hold a person hostage. A person that has just been trying to figure out life, the direction they want to go, get themselves together, and all the years of having great employment, taking 2 steps forward and having to take 10 steps back because you got all of these idiots and clowns and devils in your energy, intentionally doing things to knock you down and lying behind the scenes and doing all type of spells and energetic manipulation. I couldn't put my finger on it. I didn't realize where this stuff was coming from. Why I would take 2 steps forward and always take 10 steps back. I could not figure it out. I just couldn't figure it out. It's been people behind the scenes for many decades doing things they had no business doing. All because they trying to cover up the crimes they already committed, the lies they told, the fraud they committed, the monies they stole, the real estates, the homes, etc. I had a very, 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 very wealthy uncle when I was knee high, 5 years old. I had a wealthy, extremely wealthy uncle who had all type of farmland and real estate. You understand me? I knew this when I was a little kid. Ever since I was little, my dad told me, we are Native Americans. We are indigenous Native Americans. Our family, our bloodline, we are indigenous Native Americans. He said, he said, my grandmother, my dad said this. He said, my grandmother, which is my great grandmother's mom, was pure blood Indian. Her hair went all the way, fell all the way back behind her knees. And he said, "We are Indians, son." He always would tell me and remind me, "We are indigenous Native Americans. We are Indians." And he used to always take me to the cemetery, to the graveyard, to pay honor and respect to the ancestors who stood before us, those in our family. I'm young. I don't know why my dad is doing these things, but it will come to serve as great wisdom and knowledge later on. Why he taking a kid to the cemetery to stand there, to bow their head and pay respect to the loved ones who lived before them. I didn't know why. You understand? And you know, um, I had a wealthy uncle who had all type of farmland and real estate and money. He was a millionaire. And my grandmother, my dad's mom, was his baby sister. The second to the baby, the actual baby sister, was the auntie from hell who was money hungry and um, pit everybody against each other. And she was the aunt that waited for people to get old, family members to get old, snatch them up and put them in the living room in a bed, in a hospital bed, and collect the disability checks. It was like a vulture scouting and waiting for a loved one to get old and go snatch them up and start getting the checks for them, leaving them in the middle of the living room and shit. Yeah, I used to see that when I was growing up. That same auntie is responsible for my dad losing his first house on Poplar Street. When I was a kid, my dad owned his own house on Poplar Street, and he had his LTDs and Ford trucks parked in the backyard. And I never forget when my dad took me to his house, and I walked in and I seen all these high yellow women sitting there at the table looking at me with frowns on their faces. Those was my cousins, y'all. See, my auntie, that was the high yellow family. The majority of my family was dark skin, brown skin. But I had this one auntie, my grandmother's sister. She was high yellow. And she married a high yellow husband. And they was supposed to be the better than the rest of the family crew. I didn't realize all this as a kid. I just knew the feeling they made me feel when I walked into my dad's house on Poplar Street that he owned, and he had my auntie's daughters and everybody living there. I'm about 5 years old. They was just staring at me like I was a stranger, like I wasn't welcome in my own dad's house. So I didn't spend a lot of time in the house. I spent a lot of time in the backyard in his LTT, pretending I was driving and stuff like that. Um, that auntie, their daughters, that family, you know what I'm saying? My dad told me they was the reason my dad lost his home. He let them move in. And my dad used to tell me, son, don't mix business and family together because stuff like this can happen. I let your aunt, daughter stay there. I let your aunt stay there, etc. And, I end up losing a home. And my dad had to end up going from being a homeowner to now renting out a small room. You know what I'm saying? I used to go over there and visit him, and we used to watch ABC Wild World of Sports, the Sugar Ray Leonard fights, and Riddick Bowe started out on ABC Wild World of Sports, and then we ended up moving around after that. But um, I had known that my uncle had money, but I never expected to be in the loop. You know what I'm saying? I didn't know. I didn't expect to be in the loop. And I just figured, okay, that's one part of my family that got bread, that got money. And I grew up just living normal, working summer jobs and learning how to, take care of myself, etc. I didn't know behind the scenes that family members took me out of a will. I didn't know that my grandma had left stuff for me. I didn't know that my dad had left stuff for me. My dad told me that he left stuff for me. Don't give your aunt a copy of the death certificate. He told me. He said, "Yo, don't give her a copy of no death certificate or no will or nothing like that." It was almost like he knew it. He was forewarning me. And then, sure enough, on the day, when my dad had transitioned. It wasn't long after my favorite aunt had transitioned. And my favorite aunt was like a mother to what used to be my favorite cousin that I used to look up to. And actually, that favorite cousin was the daughter of the rich uncle I'm telling you about. And then I had another cousin who was high yellow that I didn't know was my cousin. We was in the same homeroom class. And I used to stare at her because I had a crush on her, but I didn't know who she was. And I used to be looking at her like, damn, who that girl over there? You know what I'm saying? She was in my homeroom class, but I didn't know who it was. And then I think somebody had transitioned, or I went over to my aunt's house for something. I don't know if my dad sent me over there for something. And then when I walked in, I seen the same girl that was in my homeroom class. And then it was the granddaughter of the same aunt I'm telling you that made my dad lose his home, right? And I'm like, oh, you my cousin. Oh, okay, okay. So then after that, the crush went away. And then we started talking. I started talking to her after that. And like we was family. But before I knew she was family, you know what I'm saying? I was looking at her like, damn. You know what I'm saying? But then I realized she was family. So I was like, oh, okay, you my cousin. I didn't realize she was my cousin. I really did. But I know we was in the same homeroom class. Um, I guess that's why you gotta be careful, y'all. But anyway, um, um, so yeah, my um my cousin my cousin was the daughter of my uncle, right? My uncle had farmland, real estate in the south, etc. Um, and I had posted a picture before they took down my Facebook page, my Meta page, and it was a picture of all of them. You know, that I think my favorite cousin was in that picture. My grandmother was in that picture. I think my uncle, I know my auntie was, and my dad, and my great grandma, and my young cousins who end up, becoming, big dogs in the community. Not just the community, but just overall. They young dudes, up and coming, end up, becoming them dudes. But they was in the picture, and this is all family, right? Somehow, some way, these devils try to say I'm not part of the family, even though my grandmother and my dad is in the picture, even though my great grandmother is in the picture. You know what I'm saying? And somehow, some way, I got excluded from um, what was left to me, and I didn't know about it. Nor was I looking for it. I wasn't bothering anybody. I was just living my life. You fast forward, a whole group got together to try to steal by way of greedy family members um, what didn't belong to them, right? Last time I checked up on my sister, I seen she had some um, looked like some farmland going on in the background. My nephew, who stole from me in the past, um, something with my sister's eyes though. Her eyes was pitch black. Didn't even look like my sister was in that vessel. I kept looking at her eyes in that picture, and how it was her eyes was pitch black. Couldn't quite put my finger on it. I only assumed real quick and then pushed the thoughts out of my mind because I knew my sister had been physically ill, having different ailments for many years. And I, was searching. And I know when I went to Connecticut in 2023, nobody was to be found. I couldn't get in touch with my cousin, my sisters, nobody. Everybody had shunned me and cut me off, even so-called friends. And they just left me out there, y'all. They just left me out there. So I said, damn, I wonder if these people even still alive. So I happened to go on social media and I did find a page. But when I look in the background, I'm seeing celebrations and I'm seeing like farmland, and then my wheels started spinning. You know what I'm saying? But none of this stuff would have been able to last as long as it did if we had a system that didn't fail itself, that didn't fall face flat, that didn't ignore the injustices. If you had honorable law enforcement agents that actually honored their oath of office and did what they were supposed to do, this stuff wouldn't have been able to go on as long as it has, y'all. You understand? Um, People would not have been able to come up with fake court cases or change documentation unlawfully. And the fact that they did it, that wasn't enough for them. They wanted to remove me out the way. They couldn't just steal what they stole, spend what they were spending, and leave me alone. That wasn't enough for these idiots. They wanted to steal and then replace me and remove me altogether. How evil and facetious and wicked can you actually be, yo? Huh? Just like going back to the bisexual corrupt cop. Okay, you got the girl. We broke up. I wasn't trying to get back with her. I didn't want her. She didn't want me. At least that's what she said. I guess she lied. You got her. Live your life. Be happy, man. But nah, you want to be a fraud and you want to come after me because she still got feelings for me. That's you and her problem. That's not my problem. You got all your corrupt buddies and you got everybody involved trying to erase me and move me out the way. You became more obsessed with me. I'm wondering what kind of time did you spend with her? What was the relationship like with her? Because you was more obsessed with me than being in a relationship with her. You know what I'm saying? And I knew something was off, yo. I knew the dude was bisexual because I started seeing more and more downloads, more and more LGBTQ. Oh, and then about a year ago, when I was in these soup lines I told you about, they had a transgender come stand next to me. Now the line was the end of the line. Way behind me was the end of the line. Instead of this person going to the end of the line, the transgender was scouting, saw me, came and stood right next to me, and was easing along as the line moved. This person made sure to stay right next to me. Now they did stuff like this all the time, because if you would look on the side or from a different angle, you would see somebody recording. So they would try to create false narratives all the time to make it seem like I was a part of that community and shit. And they was doing stuff like this all the time. And I'm like, yo, dude, the line back there. Why you standing next to me? Dude ain't saying nothing. He just somebody paid him to come over and stand next to me and shit. And then as the line was gradually moving, he made sure he was standing next to me and shit. You know what I'm saying? Then if you look around, you stretch your neck, turn, look. Oh, I get it. So it's a devil over there recording. They trying to create a false narrative. You know what I'm saying? These devils stopped at nothing, man. Trying to prove the lies they told to be accurate and true. The falsities, right? The stuff that I had to endure, man, just trying to live my life with these idiots and clowns, weaseling their way into places they don't even belong, man. Just trying to win, refusing to, you know, accept the warnings of the universe, of the divine, and just shut it down and go away. Let me live my life. I'm not bothering you. I don't, yo, whatever y'all got going on, that's y'all. Do whatever it is y'all do, but exclude me from it. I don't care, right? But nah, we find out beyond what they stole, beyond what they were spending and popping champagne in the clubs, going on sex retreats and going on vacations, partying. Beyond that, it was discovered a great wealth of of energy. It's like all these new developments started popping up and being discovered, and it's like here comes some more shit for them to obsess over. It wasn't enough for them to come up with PPP fraud. It wasn't enough for the life insurance fraud. It wasn't enough for them to steal inheritances and exclude you out of wills. It wasn't enough. Now it's like, oh, all the spell work we've been doing on you, death spells, and you still, you got energy that far surpassed the shit we stole. Now we want the energy. It's like, oh man. Now mind you, had it not been for these clowns and devils, or the divine allowing these clowns and devils, and the betrayal of family members and the betrayal of exes and etc., I wouldn't have known. I would have, but I wouldn't have been able to put the pieces together because when Archangel Michael activated my sacral chakra, um, and I felt this warm feeling that I never felt before, and I woke up crying. I didn't know that that's what that was. This was, I'm not gonna say 99, 2000. It was either 99 or in the early 2000s. It was either around 1999 or the early 2000s. But he activated my sacral chakra back then. I didn't know what that was. I thought he was just hugging me, right? And giving me a strong hug. And I never felt no type of energy or love like that ever by any human or just ever. The feeling was so freaking amazing, so euphoric, so warm. I felt the warmth. Even after I woke up, I felt the warmth. I woke up crying, tears coming down my eyes, yo. Because I never felt anything like that before. I didn't even know a feeling like that was possible, to feel anything like that. So warm and so loving and shit. I didn't realize that he activated my sacral chakra back then. You know what I'm saying? So many experiences I had, even when I was little, receiving certain visions and dreams and suppressing a lot of um, abilities and not realizing that I was oppressing things. And maybe, there were those in my family who assisted in doing so. But I remember getting clear, vivid dreams. And um, I've had experiences when I was 5 years old, another one where I was above the earth, looking out of a window above the earth in space. I was on some type of craft or ship, looking out of the ship, surrounded by pitch blackness, but beneath me was this big orb, this huge blue ball. And this is before I was young enough to know what an atlas was, and there was no internet back then when I was growing up, so I didn't have pictures of the Earth or outer space or anything like that. But yeah, I remember being above the Earth and looking out of a window and feeling a presence behind me. I never turned around to see who or what was behind me on this ship, but I remember looking and being above the earth and looking out this window at the earth and waking up. And then the rest of my dreams was just getting chased by ghosts and shit like that. I used to have fun with those dreams. I used to have this dream of this ghost similar to Casper, this white ghost who used to just chase me in the projects from building to building and shit. And I used to always be ahead of this dude. And I used to always get to the other side and look across the project buildings, and you could see in the windows and the hallways of the other buildings, the staircases you could see over there. And he used to always be on that side of shit. And then he would try to come down and come to this side, and I'm sure won't take off and be somewhere else. I had fun with those dreams though. I used to always, have fun, getting chasing shit and running and you know what I'm saying, when I was little. But then my dreams started taking a turn where mofos used to be in my dream and they would one dude punch me in the stomach. It was supposed to be a mannequin. I remember walking into a basement and it was a mannequin. It was a bunch of mannequins and shit. And dude, and as I was walking, looking at the mannequins, dude just turned and boom. And I looked at him like I was, gonna hit him back and shit. And I had woke up. He punched me out the sleep and shit. I woke up mad. I was trying to force myself to go back in the dream so I could fight him and shit. I was mad, yo. I started getting dreams like that. They started graduating into seeing other things, you know, different, aliens and shit like that. But man, um, and then when I would fall asleep, I would hear footsteps right in between sleep paralysis or sleep and being conscious. I would hear all these footsteps around my bed right before I fall asleep, which made me not want to fall asleep because I wanted to see who was walking around my bed. But of course, I could never see who was walking around my bed. But I used to always hear the footsteps right before I fell asleep. And then it was just different stuff like that to let me know something was different about me. You know, I couldn't put my finger on it. But then when you got a whole army, a whole group stalking you and shit for your energy, it's not that what they stole wasn't enough. Now they want to stalk you for your energy. Now they sending people to use frequencies and shit to try to violate your energetic boundaries. But they have to pay for that though. None of that stuff they did is free. Those are all violations that they have to pay for. And me personally, if I was receiving so many warnings from the universe, from the divine, to shut it down and go away, I would just shut it down and go away. But when you're dealing with narcissistic sociopaths that don't believe in that stuff, they believe in their titles, their positions. They could do whatever they feel like doing without consequences. This is the reason why they refuse to shut it down and go away. But now that the tables are turning and that the warnings have expired and they're starting to see things fall apart in their very lives, and you know, karma is upon them, judgment is upon them, now all of a sudden, right, they starting to get the picture. But it's too late because everything they've done, they done racked up too much karmic debt, too much negative energy from all the negativity that they put out there, everything that they've tried to do. It's too late. Even if they wanted to, you know, I told them long time ago, I was mainly talking to my exes. If you want to get back in good standing, if you truly want to evolve and you truly want a new beginning, there's no way around confession. You have to confess, you have to tell the truth. These idiots want to keep trying to do everything else except telling the truth. They want to keep trying to do all the spells and hiding and lying. They want to keep trying to do everything else except just confessing, admitting, and telling the truth. They want to wait till it's too late. Even if you tell the truth or not, it doesn't matter. It's not going to really change anything. It might help you get back on track with your spirit team. You still gonna have to pay off this karmic debt by what you already put out there. But if you would have told the truth a long time ago, that would have went a long way, right? To put you in good standing. But you chose not to. You chose to hide and be cowards and gaslight and participate in love bombing, making it seem like it's not what it is or it is what it's not, instead of just telling the truth. You know what I'm saying? That's all you had to do was confess and have some dignity and respect and honor restored or reserved. But now you wanted to just keep lying and hiding and letting the clown and devil, the unhinged, obsessed dude that's more obsessed with your ex than you are. Ain't that some shit? That bisexual, corrupt dude is more obsessed with your ex's energy than you was. That's enough right there. You know what I'm saying? For you to like, nah, yo. But anyway, I just wanted to touch on that and vent a little bit. I ain't been on for a while. You know what I'm saying? I gotta get my creative spark, creative juices back and all that. I've been in Mother Nature trying to ground and, you know, um, deal with these different energies and all of that stuff. And these same clowns still stalking. They just trying to be more slick about it, still trying to be inconspicuous about it, but they still out here, y'all. The only thing that's gonna stop it is when the feds finally come forward with the indictments and the arrests. You know what I mean? When law enforcement finally do their job, or the divine say enough is enough, right? And the spirit team and angels finally come through and say enough is enough, right? Not gradually enough is enough, not gradually, exposing different things, playing chess with these devils, but go ahead and fully, completely expose these devils, all truths, all secrets, right? Not gradually expose the secrets, but fully, completely expose their criminal network and all of their secrets. Bring forth the indictments and the arrest, be it spiritual or in the physical. If the divine decide to handle it because the law enforcement is, you know, too afraid to do so, or they don't want to get caught up with the red tape or being ostracized by their colleagues and comrades, then the divine have to step up. But even with the divine, they have to decide to come on and fully expose this criminal network, fully expose their secrets, not gradually keep playing chess with them at my expense, but fully expose this criminal network. Fully, completely, once and for all, expose this criminal network and not allow this thing to continuously drag out and drag out and drag out and drag out, or drag on, I should say. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, I just wanted to share that.